You know, when you're dealing with something as powerful as a mechanical power press, you'd think the official OSHA safety rules would have you covered, right? Well, kinda. What if I told you that just following the written rules could actually set you up for a massive compliance trap? Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on the hidden rules of power press safety.
So let's get right to it. The biggest trap here isn't buried in some complicated legal jargon. Nope. It's in what the regulation doesn't say. It's that silence, that ambiguity, that creates this huge, and I mean huge, false sense of security for companies that are genuinely trying to do the right thing.
Okay, so where does all this confusion even start? Well, it all goes back to the main OSHA standard itself, 29 CFR 1910.217. You see, the rule for how you're supposed to inspect these machines is basically split right down the middle into two very, very different parts.
And here it is, that's split in the road. On one hand, you've got what's called the directed component. This part is crystal clear. It tells you exactly what to check and how often. No guesswork. But then you've got the general component. And all it says is you need to do periodic and regular inspections on everything else. What does that even mean? This vague language right here is the root of the entire problem.
All right, so let's tackle the easy part first. Let's talk about that specific weekly mandate that, honestly, everyone tends to focus on. But you got to think of this as just the tip of the iceberg. It's the part you can see, but it's not the whole story.
And when I say specific, I mean really specific. Every single week, a competent person has to do more than just look. They have to inspect and test three critical safety systems. First, the clutch/brake mechanism, the thing that actually stops the press. Second, the anti-repeat feature, which is crucial for preventing a dangerous second stroke. And third, the single stroke mechanism itself.
And let me be really clear here. This isn't a suggestion. It's an absolute. If any one of those weekly tests fails, the standard is totally black and white. That press has to be immediately taken out of service and locked out. No excuses, no exception.
Okay, we've handled the clear stuff. Now we're stepping into that dangerous gray area. And this is the compliance trap. This is where really good companies who are following those weekly rules to the letter can still get hit with massive citations. Why? Because they've missed the bigger picture.
So here it is, the million-dollar question. What on earth does periodic and regular actually mean? Is it monthly, quarterly, annually, whenever you get around to it? The regulation itself gives you nothing. Zero definition. It just leaves employers totally guessing. And let me tell you, guessing is not a great defense when OSHA is involved.
You know, this quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head. This whole structure, one part super specific, the other super vague, it's what creates the trap. It tricks companies into thinking, hey, we're doing our weekly checks, so we're good. But that's just not the case. Not even close.
All right, so if the answer isn't written in the regulation, where the heck is it? Well, it turns out the solution is like a puzzle. You can't just look at one piece. You have to find and assemble a few different key pieces to finally see the full picture of what true compliance looks like.
Okay, puzzle piece number one, and this might surprise you, it's not another regulation. It's a huge landmark court case. We're talking about Secretary of Labor versus Siemens. This single case completely changed the game for how OSHA interprets and enforces that super vague periodic and regular clause.
So what did the Siemens ruling do? It basically created two massive unwritten rules. First, it said your inspections can't just be a quick once-over. You have a legal duty to inspect parts you can't even see, the concealed parts, even if that means you have to take things apart. And second, and this is a big one, the court ruled that following the press manufacturer's maintenance manual, that's not optional anymore. It's now a required part of your safety duty.
Now for puzzle piece number 2. This one comes from the industry itself, the ANSI B11.1 consensus standard. See, the original OSHA rule was actually based on an old version of this standard. So today, OSHA looks at the current version of ANSI B11.1 as the gold standard for industry best practice. It's the document that fills in all the details OSHA left out, like recommending daily pre-shift checks by the operator.
And this slide, right here, shows you how it all clicks together. This is the real standard you have to meet. It's a hybrid. You start with the actual OSHA text, then you add the legal precedent from the Siemens case, you bring in the recommended frequencies from the ANSI standard, and finally, you layer on the specific instructions from your machine's own manufacturer. This 4-part standard is the real rulebook. Okay, so now that we've cracked the code, let's put it all together.
Let's build an inspection plan that you can actually use, and more importantly, one that's legally defensible if an OSHA inspector shows up at your door.
So here's what that looks like in the real world. You've got your pre-shift or daily checks that the operator does. That comes from ANSI. Then you've got your mandatory weekly inspect and test on those critical safety systems. That's straight from the OSHA rule. After that, you've got monthly checks on things like lubrication and air systems, and you're getting that guidance from the manufacturer's manual. And finally, you have in-depth annual teardown inspections of the most critical components, and that's a requirement that comes from putting Siemens and ANSI together.
But here's a really crucial point. A great checklist, a great inspection schedule, that's a fantastic start. But it's not the whole story. To be truly compliant, that plan has to be part of a bigger, fully integrated safety system. And a massive part of that system is paperwork. I know, nobody loves it, but listen, in the eyes of OSHA, if you didn't write it down, it never happened. Those certification records are your #1 piece of evidence proving you have a functioning safety program. Without them, your entire program is legally indefensible.
And the rules for that paperwork are simple, but they are absolutely non-negotiable. Every single record of an inspection or a repair needs to have 3 things: the date the work was done, the signature of the person who did it, and the unique serial number or ID of that specific press. If you miss any one of those, that record is considered incomplete.
Okay, so what happens when one of your awesome inspections actually finds a problem? Anytime maintenance is needed, that's when lockout/tagout, or LOTO, has to happen. This isn't optional. Think of it as the mandatory partner to your entire maintenance program. It's the procedure that guarantees a machine can't suddenly power on while someone's hands are in it.
And on a beast like a power press, you're not just dealing with electricity. You have to lock out the electrical energy for the motor, for sure. You also have to bleed off and block any stored pneumatic or hydraulic energy in the clutch or counterbalance. But there's a third one that, honestly, people forget all the time: mechanical energy. We're talking about gravity. And this is a life or death point, so listen up. Even with every bit of power turned off, the massive weight of the press slide, the ram, can still fall. The only way to control that deadly mechanical hazard is to physically block it with properly rated safety blocks. This has to be done before anyone ever enters that danger zone. It's not a suggestion, it is absolutely mandatory.
So, this all brings us back to one final question for you. I want you to take a hard, honest look at your own program. Is it just built on that one simple weekly check that's written in the OSHA rule? Or is it a truly robust hybrid system that accounts for court cases, industry standards, and the manufacturer's own expert guidance? Because as we've just uncovered, that is what it really takes to be both safe and compliant.